Thursday.
I got about my 10th media request in as many days to discuss offensiveness in comedy, this time from The Independent. I'm so fed up about this pathetic subject, so I told them to go fuck themselves. But to save me some time in the future, I've decided to use this podcast to explain everything I think about this issue, and so then I can just tell lazy journalist scum to listen to this, and they can leave me alone, and they'll have it explained to them. This bit isn't very funny, it just explains what's going on. It's the As It Occurs to Me Offensiveness Special.
It's the As It Occurs to Me Offensiveness Special. Testicles.
Steady on, Christ, don't go too far. It seems to me the whole world has gone mad. Almost exactly a year ago, Russell Brand and Jonathan Ross made a prank phone call, and it seems like TV executives thought...
Two of our broadcasters got a bit overexcited, made a slightly rude phone call to an old man, but realising they'd gone too far, apologised, their apology was accepted, and the old man asked everyone to move on with their lives. This is the worst thing that has ever happened in the history of the world! It is time to dismantle comedy!
It's got out of hand. People are getting offended by anything now. You may have seen, Have I Got News for You? Miranda Hart read out a joke about a dodgy Prince Philip gaffe on Have I Got News for You?
There is no place for racism in the modern world, and the sooner that Greek twit and his kraut wife realise it, the better.
It's a joke that, it's clearly taking the piss out of racism rather than being racist itself. But there was uproar. Someone wrote to Points of View saying some jokes...
verge on hateful racial prejudice. For instance, Miranda Hart referred to the Queen as a kraut.
No, she didn't. She read off a joke written by someone else on an autocue, which is taking the piss out of racism. Anyway, kraut isn't offensive to anyone anyway. Stop being a total dick. Frankie Boyle quit his job on a panel show, and a man wrote to Time Out to say...
Yeah, I'm glad he left Mock the Week. It means I don't have to listen to his profanity and abuse.
But that's all Mock the Week is. Mock the Week is full of profanity and abuse. That's the point of it. So if you watch the show, you're still going to have to listen to other people's profanity and abuse, and someone will replace Boyle and be just as profane and abusive as he was. But you know what? You didn't have to listen to Boyle's profanity and abuse in the first place. You could have turned off or turned over. I don't particularly like Mock the Week. That's what I choose to do. I turn it off. I fucking hate profanity and abuse. And I think Frankie Boyle's a cunt for using them. But clearly some people like profanity and abuse. I don't see why they shouldn't be allowed to see it, because me and a bloke from Time Out don't enjoy it as much. As I told my old mate, old Pakalakadakdak last week, it's probably easier that we make individual decisions on this on our own, rather than us all having to be guided by someone with no sense of irony or someone who hasn't worked out how to use a remote control. Isn't it easier for people to decide what kinds of show they might not like or might offend them, and then just not watch those shows themselves? It seems they're getting so overwrought and offended by such trivial and pointless things. We're devaluing the idea of offence. If we get apoplectic about someone saying kraut, then how are we meant to react to things that are truly offensive, like genocide? There's nowhere to go. And the main thing about being offended is that I don't think you're meant to enjoy it, really, are you? I think you're meant to be offended, not be having fun. It seems like people are getting off on it a bit too much. And in getting offended by stuff, people are making things a whole lot worse. If no one had complained about Frankie Boyle's Rebecca Adlington joke, then it would have been forgotten. Rebecca Adlington would never have heard of it. But now, because someone was spunking up in their pants about the opportunity to seem morally indignant about a joke about someone's nose, rather than say the fact that homosexuals are being executed in Iran, or the Catholic Church's policy on condoms is helping to spread AIDS in Africa, or the fact that we're embroiled in an unwillable conflict in Afghanistan and our soldiers are being killed for little to no good reason. The Rebecca Adlington joke has been endlessly repeated and now will be tacked onto the bottom of every article about offensive jokes for the next 20 years for everyone to read it in the future as well. If people cared about Adlington's feelings, then they would have kept their mouths shut about it. But they don't care about her feelings. They care about appearing the most morally outraged or having their cake and eating it and retelling the joke under the veneer of concern. We have to stand up to this now, or no one will be able to say anything in case it upsets some twat with an empty life who can only feel complete if they're complaining on someone else's behalf. All comedians and broadcasters have to become terrorists. The only way to stop these pointless complaints is for us all to become increasingly more offensive all the time. And the more people complain, the more offensive we will then get. As long as everyone in broadcasting gets on board, we can do it. Then they can't sack us all. It's the only way these fucking fucks are going to learn.